Welcome to the Boone Podcast. I'm Bret Boone, and today on the program, I sit down with an all-star and a World Series champion.
I sacrificed a lot to come to New York. I wanted to be a part of something special.
He made me a better player, a better person.
Roy Halladay is my guy, man. He was tough.
Welcome, everybody, to the Bret Boone Podcast. I am Rich Herrera from the Infinity Sports Network. That is the hitting coach of the Texas Rangers. It's still weird to say that, isn't it, folks? Bret Boone joining us on his own podcast again, having to make a little bit of an adjustment with Bret taking the job as the hitting coach of the Texas Rangers. Coming up on the program today, we'll talk with Rob Bradford, but we grabbed Boonie before he's heading out to the ballpark. So, Bret, what kind of hours are you putting in as a hitting coach?
It's a lot of hours. We get to the ballpark first, and depending on the meetings we have first day into town, we've got staff meetings, and then we have the individual hitters meetings, and then we have cage work, and it gets busy. It's busier than I was as a player, but I enjoy it. I mean, it's cool. The guys are great, and I've mentioned that from the beginning. Staff's been great. I've been teasing my players lately. I said, "You guys have manners." I said, "You guys are like nice kids." I said, "When I was a hitter, oh boy, get out of my way. These guys have manners." They say, "Yes, sir, no, sir."
Really?
But now I say, "Get some hits. You could yes sir me to death. Go get some hits." So,
all right,
go ahead.
I always wonder this question because it looks easy from the outside, right? It looks easy looking in. Now that you're actually in that position, tell me, what has been the biggest surprise for you?
Well, the biggest surprise is the attachment you get to the players and how much you live and die each at bat, each game with them. A surprise for me is how tough you take losses as a uniform personnel, not a player.
Right.
And I really truly think, for me, emotionally, and it's probably because I'm new at doing this. It's been about 3.5 weeks now. It's tougher emotionally, and I never thought this, as the hitting coach, as it was for me, a hitter. And that blows my mind because I couldn't imagine a more stressful day-to-day operation than having to get hits at the big league level. But as a player, you find it's a different mindset. It's a marathon. It's a long haul. It's when you lose a game, you might have got a couple hits, and that'll enable you to sleep that night. And I've said this on a few different occasions on some interviews. I said, every time I lose, I go 0 for 5 as a hitting coach. I go 0 for 5.
Now, what about when you win?
Hey, nice win. Let's go get another one
But
tomorrow.
it's not you.
It's not me. It's
okay.
not me. It's them. And that's what, that's what's the misnomer of the hitting coaches. Oh, you come in and this is
going to change everything. Oh, look at this. Approved.
Right. This is the big leagues, and these guys are established players. This is an instructional ball where I'm teaching you how to hit.
Right.
And this isn't youth baseball. These are established
big league.
These
guys won the World Series.
These are World Series champions, right? And my job is to do the best job I can to get them in the best frame of mind to succeed on a daily basis. And there's a lot of talent here. We just got Corey Seager back, who's our big guy that we put in the middle. Just not having his presence there is a big deal. The mere presence of Corey Seager makes a difference for the Texas Rangers. But up and down that lineup, we've got a ton of talent, and we just haven't been in sync yet. I mean, we're coming collectively we're coming off we just played a tough team and a hot team with St. Louis Cardinals and scored 19 or 20 runs in 2 of the 3 games. And, we just won a series there. So that was a foot in the right direction. And we're in Tampa Bay getting ready to kick off another 3 game. We got a tough pitcher tonight in Rasmussen. And but these guys are good and they're talented. This is a good team. I think, and I every day I say, listen, think how much we've been struggling up and down. And I've just been the 3.5 weeks to see, but the struggle before I got here.
Coach has been doing this all year.
Yeah. And I said, and we're sitting there within a stone throw of first place. So it's like it could be worse. If you're sitting here 10, 12 games out at this juncture of the season, you're in trouble. We're 3.5 games out. We're sitting there and it's like it's
You're
it's a
perfect.
marathon. We got 4 months to play. And this
Um,
team, my opinion, is going to be there when it's all said and done going to the postseason.
Okay, so I'll hit you up for my postseason tickets. You better return my call back then when we get there as well. Have you talked to Arnie lately?
I talked to him a little bit more than normal now. We check in. I think he's just curious on how it's going, and he knows he's been on this side of the ledger now for 7
Right.
years, and he's lived this life, and he's kind of he's kind of just hey, how's it going? How's it going?
Right.
So he just now we're kind of
You can commiserate.
right. He knows that I know what he's living on a daily basis in different roles, but on the same side of the ledger, which is the staff side.
Okay. So we've always gone back and forth. I know how much a manager means to a team. You have whatever, manager, coaches, whatever. Now that you're sitting there in that position, have you rethought any of the ideas that you had, preconceived notions that you had? Have you changed any of your conversations with Aaron?
Well, no, I think there's only so much you can do as said coach for
Right.
Aaron manager. There's only so much you can do.
Do you have a new appreciation for what Aaron?
I have a new appreciation for what we go, like I mentioned earlier, on the emotional side day to day. And I always say, hey, you go to the post, you put your players in the best position to succeed, and really after that, it's out of your hands, and it truly is, and I still believe that. That being said, the emotional roller coaster you go on, I'm starting to appreciate, and it is a real thing. So that's the one thing
Okay.
that you can only get by actually living this life.
So let's go to that Friday series against the St. Louis Cardinals. Friday, pretty good game. Saturday,
Get shut out.
not so good.
Well-
Sunday, come back, pretty good game.
Great game. Scored 8 on
So
Sunday.
give me what Bret Boone is like in the dugout on the game where everybody's running to the bat rack to go up there and hit because you're crushing it, and the day that you're scuffling.
Same. I try to be as even keeled. Don't get too high. Stuff I've talked about. Don't
Right.
get too high. Don't get too low. Anybody can do backflips and crank the music when everything's going great. And I'm not saying when you're winning and to have a smile on your face and enjoy the moment, but let's not get too excited. And on the flip side of the coin, when we lose, it's not doom and gloom, sit in the corner and suck your thumb. It's like I always talk about this. Stay even
You've told me that the entire time we've
be
known
a
each other.
professional. Like I said, enjoy the good times and don't wallow in the bad times. When you lose or you're not swinging the bats well, I don't expect you to be having the music playing after the game and be upbeat, but I also don't expect to see you moping either. So I try to I here's one thing I'm guilty. I do really I get emotional and I try to control it when the players are doing really well or they're executing. We had a game the other day where we just executed so
Right.
well. We got the runner over, we got him in. That's what really gets me. The home runs are great, the doubles in the gap are great, but when we get a runner over and hit a sac fly, that's what really gets me going. And I get excited and I just try to tamper it down and go, all right, don't get too excited.
So you want to be Bret Boone, the flatliner.
I want to be the flatliner. I want to give the kids a hug when I'm really proud of them. And I don't want to let them know when they don't get a job done. Yeah, inside I'm going, damn it, come on. but at the same, I'm not going to look at them with a scowl on my face like it's cool. I want it to be kind of.
So as being a dad to, Jake is a perfect kid, Savannah. Then you've got Judah, Isaiah, and all the girls. My favorite Malia of the group, and Annalise and all the rest of the girls. Has it made you a better coach because you've had to deal with not only your kids, then you have a blended family with all the girls and the challenges that you never had with Savannah? Has it made you more patient for this job?
Well, I think so. I think just growing up and getting hit in the face by life a little bit, outside of sports, kind of teaches you things. There's life lessons you're constantly learning. I think having had all these kids in my life and having Savannah, Mary, Nick Allen, a current player,
Right.
To have that a little bit of experience with him, our talks and talking about hitting, how the current player verbalizes their the game and hitting
That's what I told
and
people.
the approach. These are all things that definitely help me prepare for this situation. But I think life just does it, Rich. I think, we always know it all. And, I knew it all when I got to the big leagues. I knew it all and during my best years, and I knew it all.
Bob Boone just laughed at you.
Yeah, I knew it all 10 years after I retired, and I still know it all, but I don't know it all. I'm still learning on a daily basis.
How many Bret Boone autographs have you signed?
Well, a few here and there.
Anybody yell about the podcast?
Yeah, a lot.
Really?
Yeah, a lot. When I go to the stadiums or I'm walking around town, I'll see some guys. A lot of autograph seekers come to the hotels that you stay at looking for the players, and then once in a while, you got an old timer. Hey, Boonie. So, yeah, you not as many as I used to sign, but still a few.
All right. So if you're going to see the Rangers, I would appreciate it if you scream something at Bret about the podcast.
Yeah, do it. I love that.
I know you do.
I'll probably have a sticker in my back pocket and throw you one.
And what's our motto?
What do you mean?
What is our? You had a motto just before you got the job.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
You should use that for the players.
That's what my
that knock, like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe so everybody. Yeah,
that's right.
All right, I know you got.
I got to get rolling. You got Rob Bradford today.
I got Rob Bradford coming up.
So
we'll talk to him. Yeah,
we're going to talk. I'm sure you're going to talk about Devers and if he's going to play first. If he's not, I told him taking ground balls at short. But nowadays, it's I don't really pay attention to too much. I keep my eye on the Braves. I keep
I got my Rangers hat up there next to my Yankee hat.
Yeah, I keep my eye on the Braves, the Yankees for family reasons, and I don't have time for anybody else. Just Texas Rangers.
Do I need to add an Atlanta Braves hat up there so I can add Nicky Knox?
You can throw Nicky Knox up there. Okay. Sure.
I'll go get an Atlanta Braves hat for Nicky Knox. All right.
By the way, tell Rob I said hello, and the Baseball Isn't Boring podcast.
Has he sent you a shirt that you can wear around the ballpark?
I talked to him in Boston. He said he wanted to get me a shirt, and I said I was going to give him a Boone podcast shirt. So we
I'll see if I can work that out for you. All right, Boonie, go to the ballpark. I'm going to coming up right now. Let's sit down and talk with Rob Bradford. Thanks very much, Bret. Let's join Rob Bradford right now, the most interesting man in the world, because his podcast is called Baseball Isn't Boring. We're just talking about you, Rob. Boonie said he wants to swap the T-shirt for the Boone podcast sticker. Do we have a deal?
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, of course. It'll be the most highly anticipated T-shirt gear exchange since Messi and whoever, So it's, it was great. Honestly, it was great seeing Bret at Fenway and him walking out triumphantly onto the field in a Texas Rangers uniform. That was awesome to see. And, it was great to see where a good podcast will lead you to those sort of heights.
Are you ready to? I mean, listen, your podcast is the #1 baseball podcast on the Odyssey platform. If Rob Bradford jumped into the game in the professional ranks, other than broadcasting and media, and you've been tremendous at that for all these years, what would you want to do?
Oh, if I wanted to jump in the game, I would take over a team, and I would delegate like crazy.
All right, let's go down this rabbit hole. Let's have some fun with this. What position would you give yourself? Would you want to be the owner? Would you be a good owner? Would you be a GM, skipper? What would you want?
Well, I would like to say I would like to be a Billy Bean / Theo Epstein, where I can drop in anytime and be like, hey, I have so much power. Just take my advice. But I think that first of all, I was talking with someone about this today, about looking at coaches and managers and what a grind it is. It is such a grind. It is an unbelievable grind. And there's obviously the payoff. It's like anything in baseball where you want to be in the middle of it, but you have to realize it is a taxing thing. It takes a lot out of you personally, professionally, and everything. So anyway, all that said, I think that we all try to be that guy who thinks they know it all. Like we'll try to be that guy that says, hey, this is the kind of clubhouse I want. These are the type of players I want. I got my smart guys, my MIT guys over here. I got my grizzled veterans in the baseball world, scouts and everybody else over here, I am going to make the ultimate decision. There you go. So in other words, what I'm saying is that give me the president of baseball operations.
Okay.
Yeah.
You would want to be the president of the ball club.
Yeah, because I would make sure that I would delegate like nobody delegated before, and ultimately, I got a feeling like, and you know this. I mean, Rich, you've seen enough baseball. There are different levels of this, and you see some guys just exhaust themselves and say this is all encompassing, and then you see guys who sort of understand how to manage it. I got a feeling like Dave Dombrowski knows how to manage it. Like he knows, all right, I'm going to pick this battle. I'm going to pick that battle, and where it lands is usually a pretty good place.
Well, you've seen Billy Beane in action after the game, haven't you? Have you seen Billy Beane with the wet head?
No, wait, with the wet? No.
With the wet head? So Billy, and you've seen the movie, obviously, Moneyball. Billy would go in and work out during the game. Billy wouldn't watch the game. He would actually go and work out like he was getting ready to train for a marathon. And then about the ninth inning, Brad Fisher had been the bullpen coach of the Oakland A's during the Moneyball time. He would go into Fish's locker, get Fish's workout gear because he didn't want to have his own locker because that wouldn't be appropriate for the GM. So he would go get Fish's second set of workout gear. He'd go in there and you'd see him like the ninth inning, Rob, just drenched like he had been standing underneath the waterfall. He worked out so hard. And then he'd take a shower and he'd be redressed by the ninth inning. And he would come and see Art Howe when he walked in. But Billy was the one that would open up the door for the media to come in. And he'd always have a wet head because he had just gotten out of the shower. He was not very good at dealing with the stress.
Yeah, that's a great point. And another part of it, which I'm probably not factoring in, because at the end of the day, when you're in that position, it's like you wear it. Like you wear, this is the be all end all, and you can have all the job security in the world, and you can be around forever, and you can say, well, I'm used to this, but I've been in executive boxes with GMs during games, and to your point, this is something when you lose, you lose. I mean, that's the biggest takeaway. When you lose, you lose. And yes, in baseball, you get a chance to fix it the next day. But in that time, when you lose, when things don't work out, I don't care what status you are in baseball, it stings. It's like you're talking about with Billy.
Well, it's interesting. We were just talking about this with Brett before he jumped on and he had to run over to get in the bus to go to the ballpark, that he said the hardest thing is he didn't understand when he took this job that how much he was going to wear it on a daily basis. When his guys do well, that's good. Give you a little high five. The boys got the job done. The guys don't get the job done. He wears it. And it's not like he described it as, if I'm playing for the Mariners and we're winning and we lose a game, but I get 2 knocks, at least I contributed something. He said, now, if we lose and we don't hit, then I didn't contribute anything. And he goes, he wears it. It owns him. It eats him up until they get to the ballpark the next day.
Yeah, and it's great timing by you to have this conversation because I think it's a very relevant thing. And you walk into a clubhouse after a game, and in case people don't know, so when the team wins, there's music playing, and everyone's happy. I mean, and that's one of the things that we sort of discount. Like, oh, well, we just were rooting for time of game and it's just one game, whatever. No, a lot goes into it. Football, it's like football's another level, right? It's like all week. Like when you lose, it's like all week long. This is the culmination, win or lose. But in baseball, there is that element. You walk in, either the music's playing and everyone's happy, or everything that you had put into that game, it didn't work out. There is no music. You are sad. And you are wearing it. And I think that to your point about Brett and coaches, that they don't have that opportunity like a player. Players get 4 hits, usually they're kind of happy. Like, I don't know what percentage is about being happy about the win and being happy about the 4 hits, but it's about 50-50. They'll never admit that. They'll say it's 99% win. No, it's about 50-50. You've done well. You've done everything you can. But the coaches, like, this is rubber meets the road. It's this is the business. Either you win or you don't.
So it's interesting. Of all the managers you've been around, who are the ones that were even Steven? So I was talking with Bret again. He said one of his goals is to be steady Eddie. He doesn't want to get too high, he doesn't want to get too low. And that's something, he deals with me all the time. And I'm very emotional. There's times where I am on top of the world, and then there's times where I'm on the bottom of the sea. And he yells at me all the time, hey, don't get so excited about your wins and don't be so depressed about your losses. Of the managers you've been around covering the Red Sox and Major League Baseball, who are the ones who are the best at being steady Eddie?
I want to say Francona, but I think even Francona, it was tough. Like even Francona, there was times where, you could always go in his office after a game and his talk, but when they lost, that wasn't really the option. And so I'm trying to remember that. He's probably mellowed out a little bit over the years. Actually, I was just talking to someone and he said, yeah, it definitely feels like he's not wearing it as much now he's with the Reds. I think Alex Cora, a guy I'm around a lot now, is very cognizant of portraying the right vibe. In other words, if everyone believes you had this terrible loss, he is going to try to portray something else. And every once in a while, he'll make a very, very pointed post-game thing. So I think that he's very calculated. In terms of overall, I think it's the veteran guys, Rich. Right? It's the veteran guys. Like I would imagine Bret sees it with Bochy. Lovello is a guy who comes to mind. It's like I feel like he does a pretty good job of probably riding the wave a little bit. But I just think it comes back to it. I think it's the veteran guys who understand this isn't the be all end all. You have some of these younger managers. Conversely, you have some of these younger managers who they're trying to make their mark. They're trying to change the world. And when it doesn't happen, what? Well, and those are the ones that jump to mind for me, really. It's like, and that's something that you can only learn over time.
So for me, it's the two coolest three. I had three. Mm-hmm. I had Art Howe, who was just very steady Eddie. He's just very, very steady, like the captain of a ship. I had Dusty Baker, who no matter whether they win or lose, was just the coolest guy you're ever going to be around. And then I had Joe Madden, who somebody described him once of having he and Andrew Friedman, when they were working together, that Andrew Friedman, even though he's a lot younger than Joe, acted like the old man, and Joe Madden acts like a little kid. Mm-hmm. And Madden was one that he would always tell us, listen, we're going to celebrate for 20 minutes, and we're going to cry for 20 minutes, and then it's over. Move on. Let's go.
Yeah, those are good ones. Those are really, really good ones. And it's sort of like popping up in my head, my interactions with those. And, right now I'm staring at Fenway Park, and a guy who I saw yesterday was Ron Washington.
Yeah.
And Ron Washington gets it. Like
coolest guy.
Yeah, the coolest guy. And by the way, like some great Moneyball talk yesterday. I said, man, Ron, I caught up with your guy, Scott Hatterberg. And so we were talking about, is it true? Is it true that like you guys were going to play yourselves? It's like, yeah, we're going to play ourselves until they ran out of money or something, and then they decide to make stuff up. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, but he's the type of guy, and it's the common thread, right? I mean, all those guys you mentioned, they're veteran guys. They know it, and I think that the guy keeps coming up to me where is the maybe like was in a really tough spot is a Pedro Grifol, right? Pedro gets in there with the White Sox. This is his first chance. He's going to change the culture. He's going to change everything. And they lose and they lose and they lose. And how difficult when you are losing that much and you're a first-time manager, how difficult is that to not wear it, to not act like, hey, guys, listen, I'm trying to enact change here. You're not cooperating. So that's the one that jumps to mind for me.
Okay, well, you've seen this before in Boston. How many different regimes have you been around? Every manager comes in there and they want to change the culture. How hard is it when you go from, let's say, when Tito leaves?
Oh,
and Tito was my favorite Tito story. I don't know if you know this story. We're at Tropicana Field and he's out there hitting baseballs into the rings, and a security guard comes, chases him off. Thought it was just some clubhouse kid. And he hustles them off the field, and Terry goes running back in his office. They come back in the clubhouse. Hey, there was someone out there hitting baseballs at the rings they weren't supposed to. And Terry goes, I don't know who it was. I don't know what you're talking about. And then
That's right.
he laughs as they walk away. I mean, Tito is like a big kid when he runs the clubhouse. And then you've got the next skipper who comes in, and you always have to have that change of culture because we're looking for a new direction. Those aren't easy to do as well.
No, and that was an extreme. I mean, that was a good lesson where they went from Francona and they decided we're going to do a 180. We're going to do as much the success as Francona has had. Yes, maybe a lot of it had worn off, and maybe it was time for a change for everybody, Theo and Francona and everybody, to do 180 degrees and do Bobby Valentine, which was, and that was one of the many mistakes they made, which was Bobby Valentine leaned into, I don't care what worked here before. We're doing everything different. And you had a bunch of guys already in there who that's not, as Dustin Pedroia said, 2 weeks into the season, stood in front of his locker. That's not how we do things here. Maybe that's how you do it in Japan. I mean, 2 weeks of the season. So when you have that mentality, when you try to change everything with a bunch of guys who have had success, that doesn't work. And then they go to John Farrell, who had been with Francona, who was much more like Francona. And I think overall, Rich, when it comes down to managing, the importance of what works is, I think it just has to do with the timing and what you have to work with. I've said this before, Farrell wins a championship in 2013 because he was the right guy at the right time. Cora, right guy at the right time in 2018. I think a lot of that isn't, yes, they have to be good managers, but also you have to have the right fit in that clubhouse. And Bobby Valentine after Francona was not the right fit.
Well, it's interesting is as I talk with Brett and people ask me, like, how is he going to do? He hadn't been in the game for a while. He's been sitting here doing a podcast. I go, yeah, and our podcast is almost as good as baseball isn't boring. And I'm saying that because Brett's not here, because if I was here, if you were here, yell at me for saying anybody had a better broadcast than he did. But when you relate to players, so I think it's really interesting that his son-in-law plays for the Braves. His son played in the minor league, so he was connected to this younger generation of players. But Rob, you know this, they could put on the same jersey as Yaz and Fisk, and they take that jersey off. They're still 18, 19-year-old kids, and they're no different than the 19, 20, 21-year-old kids that we see over at the Cask and Flagon after a game, wearing baseball caps, backward flip-flops, and a Vineyard Vine t-shirt. They're the same kids, but we expect them to act like those warriors of old. Brett's doing a pretty good job of relating to those guys, but it's a different game because it's a different generation.
It's a great point. And, I think that's why Francona has been so good, because, you look at how he's been through when all these different iterations of baseball, all this waves of generations, and yet it's still, I think the common thread is, and I think Brett knows this and does a good job with it, and Bochy as well, is that to pick what's important, right? To pick the things that, yes, there's a lot that is different from when they played, but there are some tenets, there are some things, some pieces of the foundation, which this is important, showing up on time, being a good teammate, those sort of things. And yeah, okay, you could do whatever you want on social media and maybe delegate in that respect. But pick the things that are most important and make sure that you are doing that, and then go from there. And I think that, that again, like knowing Brett, and you know him better than I, and I think that that's why it will work so well with them, because like you said, he knows this is important. This part of it is important. And then I'm going to learn, we are going to learn, and we'll find a common bond.
One of the things he and I were talking about off camera is the situation of Boston. Again, very unique. New generation of players with Devers, and trying to figure out where the best fit for him is. Take us inside. Give us the real skinny of what's going on there. Is it a struggle? Is it a comfort level? Is it a roster thing? Give me the real story.
Well, first of all, it's the thing that every other team asks about when you bring up the Red Sox. It's the first, like, what's going on? Like, right. So we can't ignore this. Like, so yesterday, Devers comes out with a second baseman's mitt and starts taking grounders at short. Take a video of it, 1 million views or whatever. Because, oh my goodness, there he is. That's how polarizing this whole thing is. Now, there's blame on both sides. I'll try to do my best to sort of to siphon it down. So they didn't do a good job of preparing Devers that they might sign Bregman. They didn't do a good job. That's step one. So they talked to him right before spring training. He immediately gets his guard up, says, I'm not going to do that. I'm only a third baseman. Obviously, he can't say that. As a player, you're switching positions. You don't have that luxury. They try to walk on eggshells. They say, okay, all you have to do is DH. You won't have to play the field. He takes that literal. He takes all the power. And then when they actually need him to put the glove back on, he's like, no. You told me this. So basically, this was his way of marking his territory where he couldn't mark his territory before. And I think, Rich, it's one of the common themes that I've seen is where you have, when guys like that who have their money, who have their establishment, when they feel disrespected, common sense goes out the window. He felt disrespected. Common sense would say, just pick up a glove and try to play a position. Your team needs you. The team is going to be better. Everybody knows this. But the disrespect thing, it goes out the window. And so that's where we've landed. And I think they painted themselves into a corner with this because it's two different things. Would he be a good third baseman or first baseman? I don't know. But I do know this. You tell me, have you ever seen a player say, I'm not going to play in a position when the team needs me to play in the position? It's going to make the team better. I almost have never seen, other than Yoenis Cespedes not wanting to play right field, right? Something like that. But this is much more dramatic than that.
Can you help out the people listening to the Boone podcast? Because we do like to take people inside the game. When we talk about respect, hey, Rob, I need your podcast to come on after Boone, or Boone, your podcast is going to get listed after Bradford. You're not going to take it as a complete disrespect, like, oh yeah, well, screw you, I'll never do a podcast again. It's real life. It's different inside the baseball culture. It's different inside the clubhouse. And a lot of fans don't understand what it means to be that apex predator, bigger than an alpha male, that apex predator, top of the food chain, and how you get there, how you stay there, and what you need to have ego-wise in order to have that kind of swagger that you could pull that off on a daily basis in front of 40,000 people at Yankee Stadium.
Well, it's ironic because you think that the respect would come in the $300 million contract. But in the reality is that it's just the opposite. Once you get the $300 million contract, you say, I have to earn the right to do, I don't want to say do whatever I want, but basically call my shots more than ever. In other words, if Rafael Devers is a rookie and he gets called up and he's being asked to do this stuff, he does it. I mean, it's not even a question. Christian Campbell's a kid who they said, can you work out at first base after playing second and center? Like, yeah, he's not going to say no. Once you, as an executive told me last night, said, once you get the money, it becomes a whole different ballgame. And isn't it weird? I mean, isn't it weird? Because you think that once you get the money, like you're secure, all you should care about is winning. You got your respect, but it's completely different. I think that maybe one of the few outliers when it comes. No, I shouldn't say that. I think for the most, there are a guy like Mike Trout, but Mookie Betts jumps to mind. Mookie Betts is playing shortstop, right? He doesn't have to play shortstop. Right. His offensive numbers are gonna probably take a hit because he's playing shortstop, but he is. But we see too many times this situation where, hey, I have established myself because I made this money, so don't you dare disrespect me by doing something that I'm not comfortable doing.
Yeah, it's 100%. And I've seen it both ways. I've seen guys that I thought were the biggest tools on the face of the earth. Then they get their money, they can relax, and they can actually not have that pressure of trying to get that first contract. And then I think we've also seen that guy that we thought, oh, this is a pretty good dude, gets a contract, and man, what a tool he turned out to be. So I think the money sometimes shows your true character. I wanted to ask you reaction. So I was in Washington watching the Nationals and the Cardinals. I'm going to go meet Bret in Washington next week and see when the Rangers come in. What's the reaction when people heard that, and I like to tease him this, that Aaron Boone's brother manage to get a job. What's the reaction that you've heard from people that talk about it? Because everybody in baseball is kind of talking about, hey, this is an old school guy coming back into the game. This isn't a guy with a computer degree from Harvard. This is a guy who knows how to play baseball and did it himself.
I think everyone immediately ran to go buy microphones and said, hey, I'm going to go do an awesome podcast, and that'll get me where I want to go. Like, to come back to what we were talking about. But in all sincerity, I think that people, when they hear news like this, I think people appreciate it because it's going down a road where I think a lot of people want baseball to go, which is common sense. It's common sense. It's not hiring 30 people to research and development to say we're going to fix a problem with more information. It's we're going to fix the problem with experience, with common sense, with a person who can interact with people, which is an enormous part of this deal, right? I mean, this is why the podcast is so good. This is why, you go back to Sean Casey when he took over with the Yankees. Like, that was a big part of this. Being able to relate, being able to talk, that's such a huge thing. So to answer your question, my perception was yes. Yeah, good for you, Chris Young. Good for you. Because it would have been easy to just say, we're doubling down with, and this isn't a disrespect to guys in Driveline or whoever, but it would have been easy to go down that road. It's not easy to say, I believe in this, my gut tells me this, so this is the way I'm going to go. That's why I think a lot of people were so happy about it.
Well, that's why I like to harass them going, oh, either you got introduced as Aaron's big brother, like nobody knew that you played the big leagues, or they just hired a podcaster to come work for the Rangers, which he tells me where I can go. But I think for the people around baseball, it's interesting because we're going old school. But I'll tell you this, Rob, the people that he has on the baseball side, on the baseball ops side, and the analytics side, he says, I'm able to take all that information. He goes, I got other guys that I'm working with on the team, and they give me this information. I'm able to digest it and then regurgitate it or speak in a different language to each of these players. He goes, it's actually very helpful. So I always think that's that combination of, you can have an algorithm, but you have to have someone who's able to speak baseballese, like a Casey Stengel, to decipher all of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest challenges in baseball today. Honestly, we see it all the time. Is that the information's only piling up. So it's the people and the organizations that can get it to the players in the way that each one of them can receive it. And I think that in Bret's case, the fact that he has stood in that batter's box and understands what it's like to face a major league pitch and say, well, if I had this information, this is what I would do with it. I think that's really, really, really important, because not a lot of people who are getting that information can understand that, but He can. And so I think that's why it'll work so well. Rob
Bradford's been our guest here on the Boone Podcast. Again, we're willing to trade a Bret Boone sticker for the Baseball Isn't Boring T-shirt. I think it would look good. It's a red T-shirt, right?
We got them all.
It would look good underneath
any team you want. We got the color for any team.
It would look good underneath that Rangers jersey. Although he doesn't wear the jersey, he's like Aaron. They don't wear the jersey. He wears a hoodie or a sweatshirt. So he can wear that bad boy.
And it's scientifically proven as the best good luck charm. As I just was telling some of the Angels yesterday, I said, listen, Torey Lovullo's only won one World Series game, and it was with a Baseball Isn't Boring sticker in his hat. So that's all I know. So
listen, hey, it's a proven fact. It's a proven fact.
Science,
by the way, give me a quick plug. What's coming up on your podcast?
Well, we had Kenley Jansen on the most recent one. Well, we're going to have Kyle Hendricks on, which I'm really looking forward to, because he's obviously one of the smartest guys. And I've been very fortunate because Charlie Morton was on last week. And between those two guys, oh my goodness, like, talk about guys who can talk and be really like fascinating conversationalists. Ron Washington's coming on, and then Ryan Brazier, another guy with the Cubs. We had Jameson Taillon on, which is another guy, and the Cubs fascinate me. I mean, the Cubs are this team where everyone talks about the Dodgers and the Padres and the Mets and the Phillies. Of like, man, the Cubs are pretty good. So, when a team's good, we want to figure out why. So we get a couple guys on.
Hey, listen, in all honesty, the Baseball Isn't Boring podcast is tremendous. And you remind me a little bit of Bret. You're old school, right? You know how to use a typewriter. You know how to type. You know how to do radio.
Two spaces.
Two spaces.
Two spaces after the punctuation. Yeah.
Exactly. There you go. You know how to write. You know how to, you've done radio in Boston forever. We worked at some network together for like a nanosecond. And then this podcast has just been tremendous. And, you got this thing started during right about COVID, right?
Yeah. We got it started right. It was 2022. That right around the World Series, November 2022. And because I was trying to remember when the lockout was. So actually it was 2022 was the lockout. The impetus for it was not the real quick was the impetus for that January of that year. Joe Kelly and I were doing a book. It was called Baseball Isn't Boring, and that's when it was sort of born. And then 11 months later, the podcast came around.
It's a tremendous podcast. It's an honor to have you on. We'll keep in touch, have you come back on, and we'll see how Boone does. And if he does well, I might be stuck doing this for a little bit. If not, we'll put the microphone in front of his face. But I think he's doing pretty well, and they're pretty happy with him down in Texas.
Yeah, he is doing awesome, and it's so good to see that. And also, Rich, like I'm going to throw the flowers back your way. When I hear we have the honor of hear you all over the country. You are so good, man. Like, you are so good. And I'm not just saying that because you're here, but you are so good because you sit down and you're a guy who you like, this is how we want. We want a guy who you want to sit down next to and just talk sports with. And I've always felt that every time I heard that. So I really appreciate all that you do.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. I actually feel that's the nicest anybody's been in this podcast to me because I'm stuck with Bret all the time. Hey, I appreciate it, Rob. We'll get you the sticker and we'll send Bret the t-shirt and take a picture so you can put it up on social media.
All right. Sounds good. I appreciate you having me.
All right. Take care. That's going to do it for the Boone podcast for today. See you, everybody.